I always assumed feeling old would happen gradually. You know, a few gray hairs, a few aches and pains, maybe needing glasses to read, but that's not how it worked out for me. I think back and there were a few key moments that really cemented in my mind and changed the way I felt about myself. The first one I remember clearly. I was about 19 years old and hanging out with my buddies, and we still did a lot of the 19-year-old stuff. You know, go to movies, go to the arcade, play video games, you know, stuff like that. And one night, that's exactly what a buddy and I were doing. And we went to the arcade, and who's in the arcade usually? A bunch of teenagers, right? Anywhere from, tweens all the way up through high school people. And it's a nice mix. And even though we had graduated high school a year or so before, we still felt in the mix. We didn't all of a sudden just become these hoity-toity adults that were, well above, high school kids. I mean, they were kind of still our peers, just a bit younger. And we'd go to these places and, you'd notice somebody looking at you, a cute girl would kind of check you out or whatever. And this one day, it was so apparent. We went to the arcade, we spent an hour or whatever there playing video games and other games or whatever. And as we left, I remember telling my friend, dude, we're getting old. Not one of those girls even looked at me. And it was like this eye-opening thing that I had now gotten old enough that to them, I didn't appear part of their generation anymore. And it happens so gradually, you don't necessarily feel it from the inside out. But boy, they could see it. And all of a sudden I was just an adult to them. And it hit me and I was like, damn, so that's getting old. Now, I was young, I was 19 or whatever. But it was the first inkling of, getting old and potentially outgrowing what was in your past. And so that's one of those moments that got cemented into my brain. And there's probably a few others. I remember the first time, when I was a little bit older, a fair bit older, and went to buy alcohol and they didn't check my ID. That I just looked old enough that I could buy it, that they didn't have to check to make sure I was 21. I'm sure a lot of you have felt that one, right? And that was kind of an eye-opening experience kind of as well. Like, okay, but I was still young enough to feel good. So it didn't, it registered, but it wasn't, end of the world registered. But we can fast forward a few more years from there, and I'd gotten married, we'd lived our life, we'd had our son, and he was small. He was playing t-ball, so he's probably, 5 years old, maybe 6. And it was his turn to go up to bat. And so, when the last batter was up before him, I kind of left the stands and went down to help him put on his helmet and get ready to go up and bat. And while I was doing that, this little girl came up to me. Man, I hate that kid. Still today. I don't know who she is. I hate her anyways. in the most wonderful sense. But this little girl came up to me and she looked up at me while I was getting his helmet. And she was the sibling of one of the players on his team, a younger sibling. And she looked up at me and she goes, "Are you Nicholas's grandpa?" Yeah, that kind of did it right there. Now, to give her a little bit of credit, I am an older dad. But to go all the way to grandpa, it was like a stake to the chest, man. It was like, get out of here, little kid. And I didn't know what to say. I just kind of shrugged my shoulders at her and said, yeah. I mean, but man, my kid's 18 now, so that tells you how many years ago this was. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was that impactful. Moving on, around the same time frame and even currently now, people in responsible positions that were always older than us, right? We start to notice that's not the case anymore. And there's probably a few of you that are realizing this as well, but you're at the hospital or the doctor's office, and it may not be your doctor, but you'll see the doctors running around and they're like babies. They don't have wrinkles on their face. They look so young, probably fresh out of med school, maybe even a few years into their training. And once upon a time, they were older than us, so they appeared to be adults. Now they look like kids, right? Or police officers. That's a good one too. You see them in the patrol car, and yeah, you'll see the mature one, every so often, the supervisors or whatever, and the sergeants and detectives. But then you'll see these young-looking police officers in these high responsibility jobs, and you have to remember, it really takes, at least for me to remember, like, yeah, I felt really responsible and capable at that age. But I find myself looking at them like they're just babies and just kind of scratching my head. And all these things just remind me they're not babies. They're fully functioning, prime of their life adults. I've just gotten older. And with that age, there's that new perspective. And, when you look around and most people are younger than you, it definitely drives it home that you are getting older yourself, and it changes your perception of yourself. And the most recent one really is our son. He's 18, graduated high school this year. He'll be heading off to college at the end of the summer. And wow, where did those years go, right? That one convinces me that, I'm definitely getting old. And I've always known the numbers. When I talk this way, please don't think I didn't realize, and I thought I was 25 still. I know where I'm at numbers-wise, but it kind of hits you in more the emotional way, the perceptual way, the way you see yourself. That's where it really gets you. And he's this full adult, 18 years old, responsible for himself in the eyes of the law, going off to college to soon after that have a career, probably a family of his own and kids or whatever he decides to do. And those then comparisons really drive home the fact that, yeah, you're getting older, bud. You're definitely getting older. So it's another one of those perceptions. So in a sense, what this kind of led me to kind of understand and believe is that getting old and feeling old are not the same thing. Through kind of each of these transition, I was an older age. Chronologically, I was an older age. I was 19, not in high school anymore. I was 25, not 21, scared to buy, alcohol. I was 40 something, with my kid at practice, but it took those interactions or those observations to drive home my feeling, my perception of age. At any point, I could have given you my age and I would have been very accurate about it. We all know how old we chronologically are. Didn't necessarily feel it until the girl called me grandpa, until the cashier didn't card me, until the high school girls didn't notice me, until my son is an adult himself. Those things change the feeling component and the emotional component of getting older. So I'm sure many of you have been through these transitions at some point or another. Mine started when I was still a late teenager. I'd love to hear kind of how you got through these and what kind of impact these might have had on you. And let's exchange some comments on that and, excuse me, and kind of, relive those times, so to speak. Oh, excuse me, my throat's bothering me, gotta run. Bye-bye.